In the previous presentation, I discussed about the need of elections in a democracy and the various methods to conduct elections. In this presentation, I'll talk about Indian elections. India has a parliamentary system of government. The constitution provides for equal participation of all the adult citizens without any discrimination. Selection of representatives is through universal adult franchise and free and fair elections. Elections are held at a regular interval of 5 years, which give a chance to the voters to select the candidate of their choice and also give a chance to remove a representative who is not doing them any good. Elections are also free and fair. Free means that those who are entitled to vote are free to make their choice. Voters freely vote for a party or candidate without intimidation. Fair means that all political parties get a fair chance to convince voters to vote for them, and the announcement of the result reflects the actual vote total. Now, let us discuss the features of Indian election. In India, we have both direct and indirect elections. Members of Lok Sabha, state legislative assemblies, and members of village panchayat are elected directly by the people. With respect to elections of Rajya Sabha, state legislative councils, the president and vice president, the constitution provides for an indirect election. These are elected indirectly and in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote, which I have discussed in the previous presentation. Another feature is a uniform franchise to all citizens. Initially, the right to vote was granted to all the citizens of 21 years of age or above without any discrimination. The voting age now stands reduced to 18 years. With a view to safeguarding the interest of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, the Constitution provides for reservation of seats for them in proportion to their strength. For example, the state of Haryana has 10 Lok Sabha constituencies, and out of these 10, 2 are reserved for scheduled caste in proportion to their strength. The President may nominate 2 members of Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha if no member of this community is elected. Likewise, the governor has been given the power to nominate one person belonging to the Anglo-Indian community to the state legislative assembly. The president also nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from amongst persons having special knowledge or practical experience in respect of literature, science, art and social service. The Constitution also provides for qualifications and disqualifications for the membership of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, State Vidhan Sabha and State Vidhan Parishad. The electoral rolls are revised after each census, which is held after every 10 years. The Election Commission can order the revision of electoral rules before any election. Provision also exists for a regular annual revision of electoral list. Only those persons whose names appear in the electoral rolls can exercise their right to vote. Moreover, voting in the election is secret. This enables voters to exercise their vote in accordance with their wishes. The Indian election system provides for the creation of single-member constituencies. All the voters living in a particular and defined territory constitutes one constituency. Each constituency elects one representative. After every census, the boundaries of the constituencies are delimited by a 3-member delimitation commission. 2 of the members are either sitting or retired judges of the Supreme Court or High Court, and the Chief Election Commissioner is the 3rd member of the Delimitation Commission. The Delimitation Commission can change the boundaries of constituencies and its decisions are final. They cannot be challenged before any court of the law. The conduct of elections in India is the responsibility of the Election Commission. It is responsible for the smooth, fair and impartial conduct of elections. Another important feature of election system is registration of political parties with the Election Commission. A party which fails to get itself registered is not accepted as a political party. Each new party has to apply for registration within 30 days of its inception. Now, let us discuss the electoral process, that is, the steps involved in conducting elections. The first and the foremost step is to delimit constituencies, meaning redrawing the boundaries of parliamentary or assembly constituencies to make sure that there are the same number of people in each constituency. For Lok Sabha, the whole country is divided into 543 constituencies. Each state has different number of seats in Lok Sabha and each state has different number of constituencies for its legislative assembly. For example, Uttar Pradesh has 403 legislative assembly constituencies, whereas 80 Lok Sabha constituencies, and out of 80, 17 are reserved for scheduled castes. The second step is to prepare voters list. The electoral roll is normally revised every year to add the names of those who are not less than 18 as on the first day of January of that year. It is revised to add the names of those who have moved into the constituency and also to remove the names of those who have died or moved out of the constituency. The updating of electoral rolls is a continuous process. Next step is notification of elections. President sends the communication to Election Commission and the Election Commission, after consulting with central and state government, announces the poll calendar. After notification, candidates file nomination papers with the returning officer of their respective constituency in the prescribed form with a fixed security. Candidates are given a week to put forward their nominations. After the last date of filing nomination papers, they are scrutinized by the returning officers and if not found to be in order, can be rejected. Candidates are allowed to withdraw nomination by a fixed date. Generally, 2 days after nominations have been scrutinized. After that, the official campaign starts, which lasts for about 2 weeks and officially ends 48 hours before polling closes. During the election campaign, political parties issue manifestos, that is, the detailing of the programs they wish to implement if elected. Rallies and meetings are also held to persuade voters to vote for a particular party. Then comes the polling day. Polling stations are usually set up in public institutions like schools and community halls. The Election Commission ensures that a voter need not travel more than 2 kilometers to reach the polling station. On entering the polling station, the voter is checked against the electoral roll and identity document is verified. Indelible ink is applied on the left forefinger and a voter slip is issued. Then the voter is allowed to cast his vote by activating the ballot button. After the polling, the ballot boxes are sealed in the presence of candidates. Ballot boxes are also opened in the presence of candidates. The votes cast in the EVM are counted under the supervision of returning officers and observers appointed by the Election Commission. After the counting of votes is over, the returning officer declares the name of the winning candidate, that is, the one who gets the largest number of votes. If any voter or candidate thinks that there has been malpractices during elections, then can file an election petition. And hence the electoral process concludes. The framers of the Constitution provided a machinery for conducting elections, that is, the Election Commission. The Election Commission of India is an independent constitutional authority since January 25, 1950. The major aim of Election Commission of India is to define and control the process for elections conducted at various levels, that is, Parliament, state legislatures, and the offices of the President and Vice President. It can be said that the Election Commission of India ensures smooth and successful operation of the democracy. Part 15 of the Constitution consists of articles on elections. For example, Article 324 of the Constitution provides for the Election Commission, its powers and functions for maintenance of the electoral roll and conduct of elections in free and fair manner. Now, let us discuss the organization of Election Commission. Originally, the Commission had only one Election Commissioner, but after the Election Commissioner Amendment Act in 1989, it has been made a multi-member body. Now the Commission consists of one Chief Election Commissioner and two Election Commissioners. At the state level, Election Commission is helped by Chief Electoral Officer, who is an IAS rank officer. The President appoints Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioners. They have a fixed tenure of 6 years or up to the age of 65 years, that is, whichever is earlier. They enjoy the same status and receive salary and perks as available to judges of the Supreme Court of India. The Chief Election Commissioner can be removed from office only through a process of removal similar to that of a Supreme Court judge by the Parliament. That is, it requires a resolution passed by the Parliament by a 2/3 majority in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha on the grounds of proved misbehavior or incapacity. The Constitution does not define incapacity and proved misbehavior. The certain grounds for misbehavior or incapacity are continuous conduct bringing dishonor to the office, or failure to perform the duties, or abuse of power, corruption, or lacking the required qualification. Other election commissioners can be removed by the President on the recommendation of the Chief Election Commissioner. A Chief Election Commissioner has never been impeached in India. Now let us discuss the powers and functions of the Election Commission. First, let's take up advisory and quasi-judicial functions. Quasi-judicial means a proceeding conducted by an administrative or executive official that is similar to a court proceeding. The Commission gives advice to the President and to the governors on the question of disqualification of sitting members of the Parliament and state legislatures. The cases of persons found guilty of corrupt practices at elections which come before the Supreme Court and High Courts are also referred to the Commission. Their opinion is taken on the question as to whether such person shall be disqualified and if so, for what period. The Election Commission has the power to disqualify a candidate who has failed to lodge an account of his election expenses within the time and in the manner prescribed by the law. Now, let us discuss the administrative powers. Election Commission prepares electoral rules and also revise them in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and laws made by the centre or state government. It issues electronic photo identity card. It also notifies the schedules and dates of elections and scrutinizes the nomination papers. The Commission accords recognition to political parties as All India or state parties. Model Code of Conduct is evolved by the Election Commission on the basis of a consensus among political parties. During the election campaign, the political parties and contesting candidates are expected to abide by it. The Model Code lays down broad guidelines as to how the political parties and candidates should conduct themselves during the election campaign. It also sets limits of campaign expenditure per candidate and also monitors it. It prepares the order of telecasts and allocate the days and time for publicizing the policies of all political parties during elections. Election Commission can cancel polls in case of booth capturing, rigging, violence and other irregularities. It procures the staff required for conducting elections from the President and the governments of the states. It supervises the machinery of elections for ensuring the conduct of free and fair elections. Election Commission decides the location of polling stations, number of voters to the polling stations, location of counting centers, arrangements to be made in and around polling stations. Now, let us discuss the drawbacks of election system. The present majority system decides only who gets majority among the contestants. Most of the time, the winning candidate represents a constituency with minority vote. This I have already explained in the previous presentation when I discussed the first past the post system. Secondly, nowadays elections are costly affair. Holding free and fair elections is one of the biggest challenges faced by the Indian democracy due to prevalent abuse of money power. It leads to all-round corruption and contributes mainly to the generation of black money economy. It is generally complained that the government in power at the times of election misuse official machinery. For example, issue of advertisement at the cost of government. The reason of the criminals behind entrance to politics is to gain influence and ensure that cases against them are dropped. Political parties tap criminals for fund and in return provide them with political patronage and protection. A coalition after election is also a major defect in our political system. Parties contest elections with different ideologies, but after elections only for the power and in the name of preventing re-elections join together to form the government. Moreover, different political parties have neglected the registration of all eligible voters. The electoral list is full of bogus entries. There are certain cases where caste groups lend strong support to particular political parties. Political parties make offers to win over different caste groups. Voting on caste line is also prevalent in the country. In order to draw support from the masses of their own community, the leaders have often encouraged communal feelings to strengthen their political support. The political corruption in India has led to politics becoming a business. People enter the political arena for making money and retaining their money and power. Now, let us discuss the steps taken to improve the electoral system. Non-serious candidates contest elections either to cut sizable portion of votes of rival candidates or to split the votes on caste lines or to have additional physical force at polling station. Hence, there has been increase in the security deposit to prevent non-serious candidates. EVMs were introduced in 1998 during the state elections of Delhi, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, and now are used widely as they are foolproof, efficient and a better option. The Commission has put a cap on individual candidates' spending. For the Lok Sabha elections, it is rupees 50 to 70 lakhs. It depends on the state they are contesting the Lok Sabha seat from. And for an assembly election, it is 20 to 28 lakhs. The Election Commission issued a statement before the 2019 Lok Sabha elections saying that exit poll results could be broadcasted only after the final phase of the elections was over. This was done to avoid prospective voters being misguided or prejudiced in any manner. The government decided to observe January 25th as the National Voters' Day to mark the Election Commission's founding day. The Election Commission also takes up various steps to educate voters. A candidate cannot contest from more than 2 constituencies. Candidates are required to disclose all their assets and liabilities, criminal convictions, and educational qualifications at the time of filing their nomination paper. Supreme Court directed that there should be a none of the above option on the ballot papers and EVMs. Voters who do not want to vote for any of the candidates can exercise their option by pressing the button against Nota. Now, let us discuss certain suggestions which have been recommended. Whenever elections take place, the Election Commission has to depend upon staff of central and state government. Election Commission should have a permanent electoral administration for impartial and fair elections. Mass media should play a non-partisan role in election. That is, media should neither support a party nor be biased towards a party. Another suggestion is to strictly apply the code of conduct, and those who violate it must be punished. Our political parties are highly undemocratic in their functioning. Provisions should be made to introduce inner party democracy. For instance, mandatory secret ballot voting for elections for all inner party posts. There is a great need to bring in financial transparency in the accounts of political parties. The income tax returns and the contribution reports of political parties should be made open for scrutiny by public. All pending cases against MPs and MLAs should be fast tracked and brought to conclusion within a specific time. It is now proposed to have a unified and simplified form for all services to voters. Another recommendation was to start online registration facilities at the school or college level for all prospective voters at 17 years of age, so that they can be enrolled in the electoral roll as soon as they become eligible at 18. To sum up, we can say the organization and conduct of elections in India has always been a highly complex task. The Election Commission of India has been successfully conducting national as well as state elections since 1952. Indian election system allows voters to freely choose representatives. The people have also exercised their power with reasonable maturity. The system of election is well structured and part and parcel of our democratic life.